Hi there, welcome to 247 Business Ideas. My name is Isaac Sempicha, welcoming you to yet another discussion in which we are going to look at something very different in our small scale businesses. And this time it's something that most of you have been calling me about, and I always told you we will handle it when time comes. But here is the time today, ladies and gentlemen. It's about record keeping. In our small businesses, we call it record keeping. Now, many times in most advanced small scale businesses or big companies, this function is usually done by an accounts assistant or an accountant, and usually there is a fully fledged accounting department. But our aim here, remember, we are dealing with small scale business, sometimes owned by just one person, sole owner, or sometimes owned by 2 or 3 people. Sometimes it's even a family business. Now here, records are actually kept by the owner of the business. Probably with time, you can involve someone else, but they are basic documents. They are basic records that you must keep yourself. And sometimes they help you as the owner to get an idea on what is happening in your business. So now the first question that one may ask when we are talking about record keeping is, what is record keeping, or what is bookkeeping? I will say this is just a process of recording your business financial transactions into organized accounts. I will not even use the word accounts. It's just the process of recording your daily business transactions in a very organized way. That is record keeping. For example, if you are selling a shop, if you are running a shop and you are inside there doing the sales, recording whatever you sell on a daily is part of the recording. For example, if it's a retail shop, I'll give an example. You say, today I have sold 10 kilograms of sugar, each at this amount of money. Today I have sold 4 bars of soap, each at this amount of money. Today I have sold 11 pieces of bread, each at this amount of money. Some of you even run a cash sales. We'll begin looking at some of we'll look at some of these documents. Some of you even run them. So you run them, you recording them to understand the daily sales. You can even look at the expenses. You can say, on a daily basis, these are the expenses I have incurred in my business. Today I was able I used the fuel to transport stock. I bought some stock. You know, all those are things that are recorded. Sometimes it can be an expense. It can be electricity. For example, you pay electricity for your shop, for your boutique. If you record it, then it becomes a transaction. That is part of bookkeeping in our small scale businesses. Now, the question that one will ask, is this even important? Yes or no? This is very, very important. Because why? It helps you track your transactions on a daily basis. One, most of you run small scale businesses, but at some point you even need to pay tax. It can be income tax or any other type of tax. Now, tax is based on records. It will be based on your sales. It will be based on your expenses. If you don't record them, then you'll have trouble. So we need these records to be kept so that in the processing and assessing of the tax, we are able to know how much sales were made, what are the expenses in your business, and so on. Then it's also important to keep records or to record accurately for purposes of having an organized business. You see, when we are running these businesses, sometimes we need to be very organized. Organized in the sense of knowing where everything is. Where are my sales? Where are my expenses? Where are my bills? Where do I write them? Where do I record them? Do I have a file? Do I have a book? All these ones make a business very, very organized. But it's also important in planning. For example, if you have a book where you record your stock, you say, this is my stock. What do I have in my stock? I have maize flour, I have soap, I have bread, I have sugar, I have everything, and you record it well. Now, with the time, as the stock keeps reducing, as you keep selling and knocking off your stock, what happens? It will help you plan to know that, for example, if I bought 10 bags of sugar, I have so far sold 4, I'm remaining with 6. That means it's time for me to buy more because I'm left with this amount. So planning in that, when do I stock again? When do I pay my expenses again? When do I pay my bills again? For example, if it is rent, you have records where you write all the rent that you pay. After some time, you'll be able to know that, for example, I pay my rent every beginning of the month. When you check your rent records, you'll be able to know that now this rent is running out. I should be able to pay more rent. So that is part of planning. In some areas, it's even a regulation by the government that you must keep these records. You keep these records because when the government is going to make any decisions, they do the decisions. Sometimes some of us want to get bank loans. Many times I've wanted to get a bank loan for my business. The first thing is that they ask you for the records. They want to know your expenses. They want to know your sales. They want to know your profit. That's very, very important. Even for a basic business, they'll ask for those records. So, in other words, it's very important to keep these records. But again, there is also another reason. As you keep these records, you learn very many things because you make mistakes along the way in keeping these records. So it's a learning curve. You may record your stock in a way today, but when time passes, you keep improving even the way you record it. Sometimes through listening to such videos, sometimes through consultations. But again, it also gives you a picture. For example, if it's about the daily sales, like we'll see ahead, how do you track your daily sales? You keep looking at the growth. You say, I started like this, I'm now like this. Sometimes your sales may be going down. Now, it will help you to also track that, which again brings us to the other reason why we keep these records: decision making. Usually, when you keep these records, you start making an analysis of what the records are. It can be about your expenses. You may realize that you are spending so much in your business, and you realize it's now time for you to change. I will give you an example. I run a retail shop, but there are times when I used to spend a lot on transportation of stock. Then time came where I said, no, this expense is going to kill me. Why don't I negotiate with the suppliers so that I only deal with suppliers who can transport my stock free of charge? Later on, I realized that there were some other suppliers out there who would transport my stock free of charge. You see? Decision making. Sometimes it can be about your sales. You realize that your sales are not growing as planned or as budgeted. Then you sit down and say, now, what do I do? Should I promote this business? Should I add in more stock? Sometimes it can even be on the stock itself. We are talking about decision making. There may be a particular stock. If you're tracking the sales on a daily, you say, I have a boutique. These are the type of dresses that I sell. Dress A, dress B, dress C. But dress A sells more than dress B. That means even in my subsequent stocking, I will ensure that I stock more of dress A than dress B. We are talking about decision making. So there are very many advantages why one should record transactions. As we go ahead, we'll be looking at how exactly do we record. We'll be looking at how do you record your sales, how do you record your expenses, how do you record your stock, and how do you even track your stock? How do you balance books at the end of the day? We'll be looking at that and so much more that we'll be looking at to be able to understand and implement the process of bookkeeping or recording of transactions in our business. We can even start it at a very small scale. Even in a business, someone is selling charcoal. You record every time, whatever you sell, write it down. Whatever you spend on, write it down. Then it will enable you later on to even calculate the profits that you make in a day. We'll have more sessions of this as we go along. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is 247 Business Ideas. My name is Isaac Sempija. Let's meet in yet another video. God bless.